let's take our pen tool. I'm going to select down below. And so we have a very curvy curve, let's just say that. So we're not going to be able just to click up here and make a big curve because it's not going to get the angle that we need. So this is going to be something we're going to have to do lots of different anchor points and adjustments all the way around the heart shape. Let's go ahead and zoom in. This isn't so bad, so let's kind of click here and just do a small little curve. And let's change this color to make it really a different color. And let's switch it to stroke so we can kind of see our strokes. And I'm going to go down to stroke, or right here, my stroke panel, and reduce the thickness so I can have more precision. So instead of just going up here and trying to get this to match, I'm going to do small incremental curves. So maybe right here, just do a little curve along the way. I'm going to click back on here. Okay. So if I go ahead and click and I don't click back on that anchor point I just created, it'll give you a chance to make a curve. But if I click back on the anchor point I just created, it'll go back to giving you a straight option. So let me go back and do that because I like to kind of go with the curve. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. And I'm not going to click back on the original anchor point, and it continues that curve shape. But click again, and it goes back to straight. Create your curve. I might be able to get away with going all the way over here. So you notice we have, what, about 5 or 6 anchor points that helped us make that curve. Let's keep going, and you'll learn as you practice how many anchor points you think you'll need for each shape. I'm going to do trace the whole outline and do this little shape on top. I just like having, if you ever create outlines when we get into typography, I'll create an outline on a letter. And you'll see how many anchor points are being used in curvy letters. And I'll actually do that right now to show you a quick example. So I'm just digging in the type tool, which we'll get to in a little bit. I'm just going to create a simple B. I don't have an option to make that thicker. I'm just going to right click and I'm creating outlines. And what creating outlines does is it creates all those little anchor points. So when I go to the direct selection tool, you'll see how many anchor points it took to make the curve of the B. It didn't just take 2, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you'll see some letters that have maybe 15 different anchor points to make a curve, just to make that curve really accurate. Let's make the little flat portion. I'm going to grab our pen tool again. I think we'll be able to divide this in half, so I'm going to click in the center, and then go ahead and click and hold, and then complete our shape, and go ahead and flip to fill. And let's go ahead and delete the original object. Let's go ahead and make this a different color. Let's make this a fill. So I'm going to flip that to a fill. I'm going to make that a deep red color, right? So there is our little object. We have one object on top of this one. So we're able to create a cool heart shape. Let's go down. I think we have one more shape left. Here's our other shape. So we're going to take our pen tool. I'm going to go ahead and click on the bottom and move my way around. It's going to do a complete outline of the shape. So this one has like a little bit of a curve. So let me grab a different color. So blue would be very different. Make it a stroke. I'm going to click around here and make a small. Okay. And this is good, even as someone who's done this for more than a decade. It's nice to be able to do these kind of projects to kind of keep my pen tool practice up. Because even I'm not perfect after all these years. So you see the little dent that's created, kind of like a little bit of an imperfection. We could just go in and fix that with the direct selection tool. We could go ahead and change our angles and our handles. Oops. And we also have our curvature tool if you want to have more precision over curves. So it's going to kind of help you out to make those curves too. So if you ever feel like there's kind of a dent like that was created, switch to the curvature tool and kind of play around and kind of help you create those curves a little better. So I'm just in the curvature tool and I'm just fine-tuning my curves. They don't look so dented, I guess would be a good way to describe it. So now I want to switch to the direct selection tool. Click here. I want to just adjust this handle a little bit and bring that down. So it just takes a little bit of noodling work. There's kind of our basic shape outline. And now it looks like we need to, let's go ahead and right click, and I'm going to ungroup this shape because this is one grouped shape. I'm going to right click and ungroup it and just kind of see how this is constructed. So that seems to just be a circle. Okay, that seems to be a shape. Let's go ahead and take this circle away. Let's just create this shape right now. So right now, if I were to switch this to a fill, you have just one solid object. You don't have the hole in the middle. Well, how do we make that hole in the middle? There's a couple things we can do. There's the Shape Builder tool, but there's also the Pathfinder tool. And I'm going to do both so you can see which one you feel most comfortable with. The Pathfinder tool is available on any version of Illustrator, and the Shape Builder tool is available from 2015 and beyond. If you've updated since 2015, you will have the Shape Builder tool option. So let's do the Shape Builder tool first. So I'm going to go ahead and create a circle. I'm going to create this shape in the middle. So now I have kind of our shape, but these are just two different shapes. They're not, I haven't punched the hole out of the big shape yet. So I'm going to select the center circle, and I'm also going to select this outer shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this original so we don't get confused with what was there prior. So this is what we sketched, and this is the circle that I just created. Let's go ahead and select both objects. We're going to flip it to a fill. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a different color so you can kind of see the two separate objects. I'm going to grab that Shape Builder tool, which is down here. And I'm able to add objects together. So I can click and add that object in and create that one big object again. But I want to punch it out. So I want to remove the green section. So I'm going to hold down Option. And I get to see how it switched to a negative sign. That means I'm in subtraction mode. And so now I can subtract specific objects that are highlighted. So I can subtract that object, or even better yet, hold down Option and go ahead and remove the green. So now, if we go ahead and shift this back in, you can see it's totally punched out. You can see what's behind it. We have our shape. So now we need to create this this is what was there before. This is what we need to create now. Go ahead and arrange and bring that to the front layer. So we need to create the shape. Let me show you another way to cut that out. So let's go back. I showed you the Shape Builder tool. That was quick and easy. But just in case, just to give you another option, to flip those to fill, I'm going to bring out the Pathfinder tool. So I'm going to go to Window and bring out this window, Pathfinder. And it's right here. I'm going to drag it up here. So this will help you subtract and add particular objects together. Just like the Shape Builder tool did, but it's a little bit more precise. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of these layers. And I believe I want to do exclude. That's it. So play around with these different options. I'll use them throughout the class so you can figure out which one's which and which one to use, but sometimes I'll experiment and I'll click on one. Oh, that's not it. So just kind of check it out. Through time, you'll learn which one each one does. There's divide, minus back. There's a few different ones. But in this case, I selected both and I went up to exclude. So it's going to exclude that centerpiece. And so now I accomplished the same goal. I personally like the Shape Builder tool because I think it's more friendly to use. But if you didn't have that as an option, the Pathfinder tool will do just what we just did with the Shape Builder tool. So great. So now we're back to where we were. We need to create the shape. So an easy way, instead of having to do the pen tool and do two different lines and then do fill and then do the Shape Builder tool to punch out a hole, I have a trick for this one. Since it's just a simple circle, I'm going to go ahead and create a circle. And let me make it a solid color. I'm going to switch it to stroke. Okay. And I'm going to change the thickness of the stroke until it matches the thickness here. I'm going to drag this about in the center. And I'm just going to adjust the weight. So I'm over here in the stroke panel. I'm going to just adjust it, make it really, really, really thick. And there we go. So now I have this wonderful shape created, and I didn't have to do any kind of Pathfinder or anything because it's a perfect circle. But see, when you have a stroke, sometimes when you make it larger, let's hold down Shift and drag to drag our circle perfectly. Notice how the stroke gets smaller when I make it bigger, and when I make it really small, the stroke gets thicker. How do we keep that stroke the same width no matter how we drag it? Well, we got to outline this path. So this is a path. Go ahead and click this little red line. This is a path, which is a series of anchor points. We're going to go to Object, Path. We're going to go to Outline Stroke. And what this does, it outlines the path, so now it is no longer a path that has the little manipulable anchor points. It's now a shape. So I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. So now when I make it larger, the thing, once you outline a path, I can't change the stroke anymore. I can add a stroke to it, but it's going to do around it as opposed to making it thicker. Okay, so now that stroke is created, I'm going to take the eyedropper tool, sample our little gradient here, pop that over here to our shape. I'm going to go ahead and grab the gradient tool here, and I am going to kind of make some adjustments. Oops, not to the stroke, but to the fill. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and select our little donut on the inside, click our gradient tool. We'll be able to change kind of the thickness of it. There we go. Just making some small adjustments. We'll go ahead and delete the original. And there we go. There's our little shape. So we created all these different shapes by practicing the pen tool. So if you can create these shapes and you get comfortable creating these shapes, you can create anything imaginable in Illustrator. If you just master the pen tool, the curvature tool, which is a part of the pen tool. So if you master these two right here, use shapes whenever possible to save time and then manipulate that using the pen tool and the curvature tool. And also using that shape builder tool and the pathfinder tools to punch out those shapes out of objects. So you don't have one big object, you could put shapes within objects. So if you kind of master those tools, you can create any shape imaginable. And so next we're going to create a couple of small icons. And we're going to play around with what we learned today to create some real-world icons that we can use for a website we're going to design later on in the course.